back, guys, we move on to area of a trapezium. First off, what is a trapezium? A trapezium is a quadrilateral, so a four-sided shape, with only one pair of parallel sides. So if it had two pairs of parallel sides, it would either be a rectangle or a parallelogram. But if it only has one pair of parallel sides, then it is a trapezium. You're probably most used to seeing trapeziums in this kind of shape, a kind of symmetrical trapezium. We call those an isosceles trapezium, but these are trapeziums as well. Okay, we're going to find out a little bit about the formula for finding the area of these first. Now, believe it or not, the formula I think is easiest to understand if you imagine that you've got two trapeziums. I'm going to use this nice PowerPoint I found to describe this. So if you imagine you've got two identical trapeziums, it doesn't matter whether these are isosceles trapeziums or trapeziums with right angles or whatever. What we do is we flip one of them upside down and we push it up against the other one. Okay, so what shape we now have is either a parallelogram, or if you had a certain type of trapezium before, you may notice you've now got a rectangle. Okay, now the area of that parallelogram, as we've seen in the previous page, is the base times the height. Now the base of this parallelogram is the sum of A and B. Okay, so it's the sum of the two parallel sides. Okay, so A plus B, and then we times that by the height, and that gives us the area of the parallelogram. But remember, we imagined that second trapezium wasn't really there, so we're going to get rid of that, but we therefore have to halve the area that we had before. So the area of a trapezium is half of the sum of the parallel sides times by the height between them. Okay? Right, I'm going to switch back to the pack now and have a go at some questions. Okay, so probably worth writing that down somewhere on the page. Half times A plus B times height. Remember, A and B are the parallel sides of the trapezium. You may see this written as A plus B times the height divided by 2. Okay, it's just exactly the same way to write it. Times them by half is the same as dividing by 2. So what we do here is add 6 and 10. That would give us 16 times by the height between them, and then divide by 2. And you can either divide the result of this by 2, or you could divide just one part of it by 2. And that would be a quicker way to do it, I think. If we divided the 16 by 2, because it's an even number, that would give us 8. So the result of this will be 8 times 5, which is 40. If you don't believe me, check it. Okay, so 40 square centimetres. Right, I'm going to do the rest. I'm going to pause the video here. You should too, and have a go at them yourself, and then press play when you need the answers. Okay guys, there's the answers to question 1. Let's have a look at question 2. Same method, just different looking trapeziums. Okay, these all had right angles in, these ones don't. So these ones wouldn't make rectangles if we turned one upside down and put it up against the original. They would make parallelograms though, and parallelograms and rectangles have exactly the same formula for their area. So just use the same formula. I'm going to pause it here, finish them off. You unpause when you want to mark your work. There we are, there's the answers to question 2. Number 3, we're given the area and we need to work backwards to find the missing length. Now there's two levels of difficulty for this. The first level of difficulty is when we're trying to find the height between the two parallel sides, and then on question 4 you'll see that the next level of difficulty is where either A or B is missing. Okay, so one of the parallel sides. I'll show you why they're slightly more difficult. Let's have a look at this first though. I like to kind of write down what I would do in a kind of forward going way first, and then undo it as an equation to solve these kind of questions. So what we would normally do is add together A and B, these two sides. That would give us 28. We would times by the height between them, which in this case is x. So I'm just going to write 28x, and then we would divide by 2, and that would give me the area, which in this case it tells me is 70. So we've got a little equation here. I'm going to solve that equation. First, going to times by 2 to get rid of that divide by 2, and that would give us 28x equals 140. And then we're going to divide by 28, and therefore x is 5 centimetres. Okay, next one's very similar. First thing I would do is add together the two parallel sides, 6 and 10, so that would give me 16, times by the height, which is x, so 16x, and then divide by 2, and that would give me the area, which is 68. So we're going to undo this equation, times by 2 first, so 16x is 136, and then we're going to divide by 16. 8.5 centimeters. And then the final one, I would add together the two parallel sides. That would give me 20 times by the height, divide by 2, and that would give me 115. Now on this one, in fact on all of these, we could have just divided that first expression by 2 rather than having to multiply by 2 at this stage. We could have just said this is 14x and this is 8x equal to this. And we can do the same here, so just to do this one slightly differently, we could say that 20x divided by 2 is just 10x. 10x is equal to 115, so when we divide by 10, x must be 11.5. So just two different ways of thinking about it there. Okay, on number 4, it's very similar. Let's just do exactly the same. So what we do here normally is add together these things. Now I don't know what that is, so all I can say is that it is 8 plus x. We would then times that by 4, so I'm just going to put the 4 outside that bracket, divide by 2, and that would be equal to 36, which is the area given to us. So again, we've got another equation, just slightly harder to solve, that's all. Not left myself very much space for working out there. So we're going to times by 2, and again, I'll show you a bit later on that we could actually just halve this expression rather than actually doing this step. But anyway, that will give us 4 lots of 8 plus x, and that is equal to 72. We then expand the bracket, which will give us we're going to divide by 4 at this stage. You could expand the bracket, just think dividing by 4 be a bit quicker. So that will give us 8 plus x is equal to 18, and then take away 8 to get x on its own, so x must be 10. Okay, on the next one, we would start by adding 9 and x. We would times that by 5, and then we would divide by 2, and that would give us 55. Now I'm not going to divide the expression here like I said I was going to a second ago, because actually 5 is not divisible by 2, so it just might be easier to think of this as we did with the first one. We're going to times by 2, so that would be 110, and then we're going to divide by 5, and that will just leave us the bracket. 9 plus x equals 22, and then we're going to take away 9. X is 13. And on this last one, first thing we would do, oh my word, first thing we would do is add x and 22. We would times that by the height, which is 12, divide by 2, and that gives us an area of 234. Now on this one I'm actually going to just divide the 12 by 2. So that's one thing we can do. It's no different from here. We just did this a different way by times and by 2 to remove the divide by 2. But if what we've got here is actually divisible by 2, it might just be quicker to do that. Then going to expand the bracket. I'm going to take away 132. And then divide by 6. Okay. Number 5. Farmer Richards owns his field. The crop he plants earns him £7 for each square metre. How much money does he earn in total? So the problem is that part of this shape is a trapezium. So one thing we could do to work it out is to split this into a trapezium and a rectangle. So the area of the rectangle is just 70 times 165. And that gives us 11,550 square meters. And now the parallelogram, we know this length here is 165. We know the height between these two parallel sides will be 180 minus the 70 we've already got here, so that'll be 110. Okay, and so we've got everything we need. We're going to add together 165 and 220. We're going to times by the height between them, and we're going to divide by 2. So this is the same as 385 times 110 divided by 2, or we could divide the 110 by 2, okay, which would just give us 55. That's what we need to figure out. $21,175. So the total area is that plus the original 11,550 from the rectangle, $32,725 square meters, and if it's £7 per square meter, we then need to times that by 7. £229,075. Okay. Number 6. A badge is made by joining two congruent trapezia. Find the area of the badge. So one of those trapeziums, remember the word congruent means exactly the same. So let's just find the area of one and then we'll double it. So the area of one of them would be, adding together the parallel sides would give us 16, times by 7, is just the height between them, dividing by 2, that would give us the area of one trapezium, but then we're going to times by 2 because we've got 2 of them, and there's no point in dividing by 2 then timesing by 2. So this will give us the full area of the badge. 16 times 7 is 112 square centimeters. And last one, number 7. A shape has been made from joining a rectangle, trapezium and triangle. The height of the shape is 3.5 centimeters. The ratio of the height of the rectangle to the height of the trapezium to the height of the triangle is 2 to 3 to 2. Calculate the area of the shape. Okay, well first we're going to figure out how high each of these shapes is. So we're going to split 3.5 into this ratio. The first thing we're going to do is add together all the parts of the ratio. So that will give us 7 parts. If we do 3.5 divided into those 7, each part is 0.5 centimeters high. So if there's 2 parts of height for the rectangle, that means that will be 1 centimeter in height. The trapezium has 3 parts, so that will be 1.5 centimeters of height. And the triangle also has 2 parts, just like the rectangle, so that will be 1 centimeter. Okay, so the area of the rectangle is very simple, 1 times 3, so 3 square centimeters. The area of the trapezium is next. So we're going to add together the parallel sides. We know this is 3 centimeters or 30 millimeters. And in fact, I'm going to keep this in centimeters. So actually, I'm just going to turn this into centimeters and say that that's 0.8. So when I add those together at 3.8 times by the height between them, 1.5, and divide by 2. So that gives me 2.85. And finally the area of the triangle. So half times base times height. So the base is 0.8 centimeters, the height is 1. And when I halve that, I'm going to get 0.4 square centimeters. So when I add all this together, I'll get the total area. .25 square centimeters. Okay guys, thanks for watching.